Carpe diem, seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome to Carpe Diem. On today's episode, we're going to talk about enjoying life in spite of COVID. Now, our habits have changed, how often we eat out, how we shop, and how we socialize. Today, I'm talking to a few people who'll shed some light on how the pandemic has affected their industries and how we, as consumers, have changed our behavior. But first, let's take a look at a story from my colleague Dean Atwell. It's all about how Central City Brewers and Distillers has pivoted to meet the demands of COVID.
So these are hot pellets.
Well, here at Central City Brewers and Distillers, we're learning how the organization is lifting spirits by providing hand sanitizer.
Like in February, somebody said, Gary, everything's going to be shut down. There's going to be a pandemic, and oh, by the way, you'll be making hand sanitizer. Yeah. I would have thought that whoever said that would have been a nut bar. Just like any brewery, when the restaurants closed in the early part of the pandemic, there was no keg sales. So every brewery, regardless if you're a craft brewery or a major brewery, would have lost their keg sales to those restaurants. So doing the hand signer was a need that we can do because we have a distiller's license, and we have these vessels directly behind you. And they're 5,000 liter vessels, and we were able to batch hand sanitizer at the time when it was needed.
So how much did you pump out, or how much you used?
We did 58 5,000 liter batches, which is almost 300,000 liters of hand sanitizer. It's nuts.
With a lot of businesses having to adapt during COVID, I'd read that they had come up with a hand sanitizer, and it's something that we wanted to look at doing for our partners, and that stemmed a discussion as to how we could do something good for the community. What we did is we came up with a promotion that tied in with the launch of the Central City Cruiser Pack, and it was a retail promotion that we did where with the purchase of a cruiser pack, then Central City and the BC Lions were going to donate a liter of hand sanitizer to BC senior living homes, and at the end of the day we had over 400 liters that we were able to distribute to senior living homes, which was quite well. And it's just a neat little promotion that we could do to help out seniors and make it more safe for those seniors that were going through a difficult time at the start of COVID in a lot of the long-term care homes. So we're happy to be able to be part of bringing a little more security and safety into their lives.
So this is our flagship IPA.
Beautiful.
Enjoy.
What does it mean to you to work for an employer that is so involved with the community?
It means a lot to me, specifically with this day and age, with everything that's going on. You know, I have a family member who actually works in the hospital, so he was a frontline guy with the COVID pandemic, and to know that, this company is so forward thinking that they've decided to just make sanitizer and donate it and get it out there for people to have so they can feel safe to go out and safe at home. And I love being able to say that I work for a company that gives back to where they were born.
There's a wide selection of spirits on display here in the brewery, including their award-winning Lowen McKinning whiskey. Now, last time we were here, this was in barrels.
Wow.
Smell it in here, eh? Oh, look at this. I'd love to be a monkey in a barrel in here.
This is all going to be whiskey.
Monkey in a barrel here, me, every day.
In July of 2013, we opened up this beautiful facility, and now it's, 7 years later, and we're completely filled inside here. We maxed out our brewery, and we built a new building since you've been here. We have over 2,000 barrels of whiskey inside that facility, and it's fantastic.
How does it feel to have your name on an international bottle?
It feels great, and I'll be looking for the first 10-year-old whiskey. That will be amazing.
Well, finishing up here in Surrey at Central City Brewers and Distillers, Dean Atwell for Joy Television.
Wasn't that a good idea? I'm certainly grateful that they pivoted to make hand sanitizer, but that they also kept the distillery intact for us to enjoy that 15-year-old whiskey. When we come back, we're going out to dinner. Or are we?
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
There was 15,000 restaurants doing about $15 billion in sales. We probably will lose 30% of the industry.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. It's been a year since COVID changed all of our lives, and few industries have been affected like the food service industry. Now, I thought we should catch up with Ian Tostenson from the BC Restaurant Association and learn how restaurants are doing 1 year on.
In the old world, there was 15,000 restaurants doing about $15 billion in sales. We probably will lose 30% of the industry, and both in sales and number of restaurants. And so right now we're tracking maybe say $3.5 to $4 billion in fewer sales right now, just because of reduced capacity. But on the horizon though, this industry will bounce back because they're gonna say, it's like we're gonna head back to the roaring 20s. There's so much money that's on the sidelines, and we're actually seeing in the industry now people, can you imagine this? What are you gonna do, honey? I'm gonna open a restaurant. What? It's a pandemic. But there's lots of opportunities for people to do that.
I actually see that there's a lot of new restaurant openings, like right now.
Yeah, well there are. And the nice thing is what they're figuring out is, okay, they'll go to their landlords and say, this restaurant now, I'll pay this much money, which will be reduced because it only operates at a 60% capacity. And that's probably the way it's going to be forever, because the consumers will want to have more space. We're not just going to go back in July and go, hey, let's just jump on everybody's laps and just go back to normal. But they want to maintain distance. They're going to want to probably maintain masks in restaurants.
So you've talked about some of the protocols that were in place because of COVID. And so now you're saying some of these are so successful that they'll just stay with us.
Yeah, so you probably notice a lot of people ordering food, having it delivered to their homes. So the third-party delivery, pre-pandemic was about 20% of sales. It went up to 100% of sales this time last year because everybody was closed. So all they could do is pick up and deliver. And now you're going to see that settle in probably at around 40 to 45%, so it's going to be permanent. And the government tomorrow is going to announce that the ability for restaurants to sell alcohol with the food is going to stay permanent, which is a great change.
That's very good.
So we're going to see people that like the whole notion of, I'll stay home and let's stay home, watch Netflix and order in from our favorite restaurant.
Now, what about the mental health of some of your people? Because that's a big problem in society today. It's being talked about, it's being disclosed, and people are saying, you know what? I am affected by that. Is that something that you hear about?
Yeah, you know, and when you have an industry like ours that was the canary in the coal mine, and then suddenly you're lacking resources to deal with that, because your most precious asset are your people. And if they're coming in, or if they don't come in because they're sick, or they don't feel safe coming in, or if they come in and they have, you know, they get battered by the public. So what we saw and what our guidance to the industry was is, at the very minimum, just check in with your people. Just ask them the basic question, Carmen, how are you feeling today? I'm not talking about your COVID feels. Yeah. I'm talking about you as a person. Are you feeling safe? Is there anything I can do as an employer to make you feel safer? And all those different things. And we found that guidance, it just, you know, people just need to know people are there for them. And if I own a business and you work for me, you knowing that I care about you and I'm here for you, despite all this, and that we can openly talk about this, and that mental health is not something that we should be ashamed of or hide. It's very real. Everybody's got stresses in their minds. And so we, I believe, as an industry, as we crystallize here, have a really important job to do to make sure our workforce, which is considerable, is guided properly to make sure we can deal with it.
With all the options we now have to support the restaurant industry again, I'm starting to plan my outings, and I look forward to sitting on a patio with a glass of wine and a few close friends. When we come back, we're talking about our COVID drinking habits.
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
People are definitely drinking more local wine. They're spending more. That's been one of the few positives we can take out of the pandemic.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. Have you noticed that during COVID, there's been a lot of us sharing photos on social media with a glass of wine? Are, in fact, our shop local habits helping the BC wineries? Well, let's talk to Daryl Booker, president of Mission Hill Winery, about how the pandemic has shaped our drinking habits. Hola, Daryl.
Hello, how are you, Carmen?
Very, very happy to see you. I have a quick question for you. Have you noticed that people are drinking more local wine?
Absolutely. People are definitely drinking more local wine, and most people are buying it now online. E-commerce has really taken off, but they're spending more and they're drinking more local wine. We've definitely seen that. That's been one of the few positives we could take out of the pandemic.
How has the restaurant closures and restrictions impacted your industry?
Oh, it's been huge. I mean, the restaurants are suffering, and the restaurants are our key partners, and we're suffering along with the restaurants. And it's been so tough on the hospitality industry in general, and no tougher on anyone than the restaurant industry. And so we've seen restaurant sales reduced by about 75% across the board, and the numbers are showing that as well. And the restaurants are such a key partner. It's how we get our brand out there, and it's how we talk to consumers, so to speak. So so huge reduction in restaurant sales, and that was our number one channel outside of the winery, the number one way that we reach consumers outside of the winery, and it's been decimated.
So let's take Mission Hill as an example of what a destination winery, what's happening right now outside your front door. I know we're talking to you in Kelowna right now. What's the scope? What was it before, and how have you pivoted to adapt to the restrictions that COVID must do? Like, what do we do?
Yeah, huge changes, Carmen. We've, so first of all, we had to take our visitation way down for obvious reasons. And so we went to reservation only on the property, as most wineries up and down the Okanagan Valley did. And that was a big change right from the start. So instead of 2,500 visitors per day, we reduced down to about 400 visitors per day.
And so let me ask you, some of the protocols that you've had to do because of COVID, you plan to keep some of them moving forward? Let's say everybody gets vaccinated and the borders are open and all these people want to come to you, but you're saying that you're going to keep a close handle on some of the changes that you've had to do, but they're working for you as a business.
Absolutely. Reservation only, we will definitely keep. That's been amazing because we can plan. We know how many people are coming on property, and we make sure that people are getting the right experience. So reservation only will definitely keep. Small group sizes, we'd like people to be able to be in a group of 2, 4, maybe up to 6 or 8 at the absolute most. So we'll definitely be keeping the small group sizes and much more intimate events, intimate dining experiences, intimate wine tasting experiences. And one of the things I've enjoyed the most is most of our experiences have a food component now. So people are trying wine and food the way it should be. Food should be consumed with wine and vice versa. So we've been able to really introduce that, which we'll keep moving forward.
Now, what about retail sales? Like, you have a lot of liquor stores, I think you supply. And so what is it like for everyday people going to buy wine? Like, have you noticed those numbers change at all?
We have, yeah. Strangely, the government liquor stores have reduced slightly, and I think some of that is the restrictions in the government liquor stores, so the BCLS stores. But we've seen Save on Foods and the supermarkets have increased, and independent retailers have definitely they've increased their sales during this pandemic as well.
Do you predict permanent changes to the industry after COVID?
I do. Yeah, I think there will be some permanent changes to the industry. I think this has given people a way to think about how do they sell their wine, what's important to their guests, what are their guests enjoying the most, and the whole industry has been forced to do things that may have taken 5 years, and I put that in 2 categories. One is e-commerce. Most wineries, including ourselves, have found a way to sell more wine, through the internet and engage people digitally. So that's going to change the industry forever moving forward. Now, it would have happened. I think it just sped up. Number 2 is is how people engage when they visit the Okanagan Valley. It's a much calmer, more pleasant experience, but people will need to plan ahead. And I think that, gone are the days where you can just turn up at any winery on any day of the week and come inside and taste some wine. Most wineries, and definitely ourselves, will be going to reservation only. So, but it'll be a better experience, just like a great restaurant. You have to plan ahead, and you have to reserve your spot and reserve your experience. And I think that'll be a big change as well. So they're the two main changes I see coming.
Yeah. Well, Daryl, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, giving us your insight into what we can expect when we all return to the Okanagan.
My pleasure, Carmen. Lovely to chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much. When we come back, we're going to go for dinner in Italy while never leaving Vancouver.
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
I think with the preclusion that each one of us has not to be able to travel, we are focusing and engaging more actively with local restaurants and local places.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. We've spoken with Ian at the BC Restaurant Association and Daryl at Mission Hill Family Estate Winery on how COVID has affected their industries. Next, we talked to the legendary Pino Posterado at Chopino's on how his restaurant is coping with the pandemic.
Hey, how are you guys? Hello. So I have to take 2 of these because I notice that at the entrance of the men's washroom and ladies' washroom, they are empty almost. So here we go.
With restaurants now open for in-person dining under the new safety protocols, chefs and restaurants are having to go above and beyond to keep us safe.
Here we used to be able to put 40 people. Now, when people call, if they tell me that they have a group of 24, I can open the doors and I can do 4 tables of 6. They still have to be within social distance. And unfortunately, there isn't any opportunity for you to move from a table to another. No table hopping. And it's been one of the worst challenges that I had to deal with, because not only I have to be a chef and a restaurateur, but I have to make sure that I have to be the cop to give these rules to be empowered.
Well, we've always had a sanitizer. Yeah. However, it's just a matter of frequency now. We do it probably every 15 minutes. Well, the onus, it has been placed on us, the hosts. Sometimes the customers may commingle with others at different tables, and we have to be vigilant and forever vigilant about that not happening.
Restaurants were the hardest hit of any industry in terms of closures. Prices have gone up. I mean, it's expensive for restaurants to operate with all this PPE and with the reduced capacity. I have noticed prices gone up, but value still matters.
Look at this beautiful lamb saddle, look at that. So what I do, I debone it, put the loin inside, and then with the bones do the sauce. I think with the preclusion that each one of us has not to be able to travel, I think we are focusing and engaging more actively with local restaurants and local places. You value a little bit more the local gems. If you have the chance to travel around the world, you don't miss the restaurants. But for a year, you cannot travel. So I want to give people the opportunity that they're not able to travel, to have something they would go and have in Alba, in Piedmont.
According to Dr. Bonnie Henry, BC's Chief Medical Officer, it's safer for us to celebrate and gather in restaurants than it is in our own homes.
We're seeing low transmissions from restaurants. They're not tracing exposures back to restaurants because they're following the rules. They're safer than at home, where you tend to let your guard down, where you don't think so much about transmission. In restaurants, people are watching to make sure you follow the rules. There are no big group gatherings, there are no big tables, no banquets, but it's still a fun safe, easy way to socialize in small groups. And that's going to be really important as we get closer to the Christmas season, to the holidays season.
And if you notice, we still have fresh cut flowers because it's very important not to give up hope. We cannot give up hope. We cannot give up sense of beauty. Yes, we might have been forbidden to hug each other, but sense of beauty, sense of freshness, we need to keep up in order to be coming to work. Otherwise, we'll be depressed at home.
I love that Pinot keeps fresh flowers in their restaurants to remind us to stay positive. If every one of us decide to make a concerted effort to support our local producers and our local restaurants, we'd be doing our part to keep our food and beverage industry going. Now, individually, we may feel that we can't do much, but when you add all our efforts together, yes, we can. We can have a positive effect on so many people trying to stay in business during COVID. And that's the show. You want to see a conversation happen here? Get in touch. And remember, as our Carpe president, Moses Neimer, always says, the best way to keep going is to keep going. So carpe diem and seize your day.